live via Skype and brought to you via YouTube. It's the hashtag Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Turnbuckle Jim, and with me this week,
The Heart Blake Kid. How's it going?
it's going all right. It's been a really wrestling terrific week, I guess. I don't know. It's been okay. How are you?
Doing not bad, not too bad. Yeah, like you said, we got a pretty full plate to get into. So shall we
Yeah.
just get right into it?
Let's get right into it. Okay, so last week we predicted predicted NXT Takeover and the Royal Rumble. We'll go through that, our review, I guess, of the two events, and then also give our top five reasons. Blake's going to give his top five reasons to be excited for WrestleMania. I'm going to give the top five reasons to be worried for WrestleMania. So,
Indeed.
ready to do it?
Let's do it.
All right, so coming at you from day before from WrestleMania, from Royal Rumble, it's NXT Takeover San Antonio. We're not going to go through the preliminary matches. The ones that were taped, I guess we'll just go ahead and skip those and go straight to the ones that were televised live. So starting up, we have Eric Young defeated Ty Dillinger, the Perfect 10, losing to the Perfect, Raider from Fallout.
Yeah, I kind of am digging this new stable thing, especially because it's a mixed stable.
Yeah.
It it feels kind of TNA, but I don't know, almost some of the not so terrible parts of TNA sort of eking into NXT.
Wow, NXT
which,
is it feels like TNA advanced lessons or something like that. It's
insane.
Right.
Right. But suppose went as one could expect. Why ruin Ty Dillinger's record?
Yeah. Ty's never going to win a stinking pay-per-view match. Anyway, and the match itself was good. I did like the whole Ty versus the whole stable.
Right.
In terms of outside help, that was kind of neat too. So he looks strong in defeat, but he just needs to win at least one match.
Right. That would certainly go a bit of a way in picking up that whole Perfect 10 character choice.
Yeah,
but,
he's got a Perfect 10 losing record.
Right.
At this point, but you did pick Eric Young to win. I picked Tyler. Ty Dillinger.
Ty Dillinger.
Ty Dillinger,
yep.
Man, they want to say Tyler for some reason. All right, so it's 1-0. Next up, Roderick Strong defeated Andre Almas.
Yeah.
Almas, I should say.
Yes. Basically, feels though this was a pretty solidly worked match, which is kind of, my opinion on CN. I would like for them to give him a little bit more character aside from just an interesting aesthetic, but he's got the chops, I suppose, but now he just needs to get the personality behind it.
Yeah, both these guys need to get a lot more personality developed, which could happen because NXT is right now it's a wasteland of talent because everybody left.
Right.
But yeah, both these guys, I think, wrestled a great match, but yeah, they need to have more personality in both of them. But I picked Roderick Strong. You picked Almas, so 1 point to me, no point.
Yep.
And so it's tied up 1-1. Next up, we have Authors of Pain versus our defeated Team DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad for all indie wrestling fans. What are your thoughts on that match?
I mean, again, technically very, very sound. And I missed a lot of this year's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic.
Yeah, me too, unfortunately.
So to me, sort of seeing the Authors of Pain kind of come out on top was surprising. But then again, as mentioned, I suppose if I had that preconceived knowledge going in, because apparently they did very well in the tag team tournament.
They were very dominant in everything they've done, unfortunately. So I was just kind of sad that Tommaso and Gargano.
It's a very short run.
Johnny.
Yeah. Short run for them.
Very short run. This is like 2 months, I think, as tag champs, and that's kind of, I'm glad they won the belts, but sad they lost them too, because maybe they might be called up pretty soon, I think, at this point.
Right. Right.
because they also need him on the main roster too. Man, they really need bodies in the WWE at all levels at this point. But
So
we both
seeing
picked hashtag DIY to win, and then I guess we hashtag lost
indeed.
that one. Next up, the women's four-way match: Asuka defeating Nikki Cross, Billie Kay, and Peyton Royce in what felt like an incomplete match.
It did. I still really enjoyed it, however.
I
Um,
don't know. I felt like okay, they did some cool spots here and there. All right, we're gonna go ahead and see more action. And no, Asuka won. Okay, that was it.
which again, it's. I'm interested that that's the way they are opting to, keep up her sort of undefeated streak.
Right.
I'm pleased that they had the table spot in there. There's also like a decent bit of humor thrown in, which I can always appreciate. Especially when you have characters like Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Interesting to see because they're not, and I don't think they're ever attempted to be booked this way. They're not exactly Mavericks when it comes to wrestling.
No, they're
Uh,
really not.
which is okay. It's when you have a a cast, not a cast, but a roster as diverse as it is, you can have room for your James Ellsworths, and you can have room for Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, which in this regard, it was I like that they sort of teamed up to take out the only one who was the legitimate threat to Asuka, which was Nikki, and
Right.
seeing that at the very beginning, just like the two of them squaring off, was very interesting. And I think further on down the road, it will kind of lead to a longer feud between just Nikki and Asuka.
Well, hope so. I just really kind of felt there's a big plot hole there that it's a four-way match. Technically it is Billie Kay versus Peyton Royce. Either one of them could have pinned the other person and and just gotten the quick victory or done a quick tap out or something like that. They just really say like, hey, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay can't pin or tap out to each other.
Sure. Again, that also, I don't think as characters they're that smart. Like,
Wow. Oh, okay. You're insulting. Well, I guess yeah. They're playing characters who are just
yes,
full of
as
stupid.
characters, and again, let's face it, like a great many of heels in WWE are booked as being idiots, which will
True.
lead to another point that I will want to talk about later, but we'll put a pin in that.
Yeah. Well.
Uh, but
Anyway, so we did both pick Asuka to win this match, so we were tied 2-2.
yes,
So we come to the final match of the night: Shinsuke Nakamura, the champion, versus Bobby Roode. Roode beating Nakamura when Nakamura kayfabe, I guess, hurt his knee on the outside of the ring, or
indeed.
going to the outside. I think it was on the edge of the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the entire ring.
That's what I hear.
Bobby Roode getting a couple of glorious DDTs and pinning, and we have a new NXT champion. Holy crap!
Yeah, did not see that coming.
You did not. You picked Nakamura, and I picked Roode. So that's
Mhm.
actually another point to me. But I don't know. I think it was a pretty solid match. Bobby Roode, his style to me is a little boring, but I like the character of Bobby Roode.
Sure.
I think it's a really cool, just a vain character, but also has a kind of veteran weatherall too.
Right. And honestly, to me, the biggest problem is that, like, it just kind of makes Nakamura look like a pushover,
Yeah.
considering that he's, held it twice and lost it twice now. Each time, sort of like the first time that somebody really challenges him for it.
Hmm.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say that, Samoa Joe beat him the first time.
Yeah.
And then, the second time won it back, and then I guess the third time, won it for keepsies.
Right.
But yeah, it's weird, and I almost consider that it was like, well, are they moving him up? Or is that why they're taking the title from him? But then, he got kayfabe injured. So, I felt as though him showing up the following night would be incredibly unlikely.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that is a good point. I think that the days of the long-running NXT champion are probably done for us, at least for a while. Um, there's been, as a total for in the past, how many years has this been? About,
3, 4.
no, it started in 2012, so like 4.5 years right now. Longest running champion was. I'm gonna ask you
Are
a
you
trivia there.
quizzing me?
I am quizzing you.
Oh,
Who's
I
the
see.
longest running NXT champion?
Hmm. Let's see. Was it Neville?
You are very close.
Ah, I see. Finn Balor?
You are correct. At 292
Okay.
days, almost doing pretty close to a year.
Hmm.
Followed up by Adrian Neville, who had 287 days, preceded by Bo Dallas, who had 280. Adrian had 287 days. Bo had 280 days, and so on and so on. Before them, the shortest reign was Sami Zayn at 62 days.
Yes.
But yeah, essentially the long reigning championships I think are going to be gone in NXT because they're probably bringing guys up sooner, and then also not maybe when some guy who needs to develop for a while and get over will be made NXT champion, beating the glorious Bobby Roode. Um, but yeah, just the day I see the days of being a long champion are probably behind us at this point.
That's yeah. I suppose that that seems to be almost carrying over to a lot of other things,
True.
which again we will get into
True.
later.
Anyway, so at this point, I am ahead 3-2. What's your overall letter grade for NXT Takeover?
Um, without sort of the great the huge names, without your Finn Balor's, your Kevin Owens, your Sami Zayn's, um, the must watch factor is kind of diminished. That being said, they do tend to put on very, very interesting shows, and Seth Rollins showing
He
up,
did
I
show up.
thought
That was interesting.
I thought was a very, very cool sort of throw onto it, and it sort of continues to show that these things don't occur in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Um, I honestly was thinking that if they, because knowing that Seth Rollins was not scheduled to be at the Royal Rumble the following night, if they had just surprised everyone with a impromptu Triple H versus Seth Rollins match, that would have been pretty awesome.
It would have been. It would be interesting. I did like the fact that he came in and just um, did that. There's a little bit of crossover there. I actually do like it when they do crossover a little bit with the main roster, so that way it feels like, yeah, it's not in a vacuum, that these guys interact with each other.
Hmm.
It makes it easier for NXT people to get over and WWE guys to
Right.
have a little fun too, it looks like. But
Right.
anyway, so letter grade for NXT Takeover San Antonio.
Let's see. I would give it. I want to say a B minus.
I think B minus is probably a very accurate review.
Very,
Yeah.
very technically sound,
Yeah,
and
I mean
I'm always willing to be way more forgiving for NXT because they tend to do more with less.
that is true. I think it's very accurate because I wasn't disappointed by that. I don't think there was nothing really spectacular, nothing to write home about, but it wasn't bad. So yeah,
Yeah.
B minus pay per view. So next up, the Royal Rumble itself. Let's go through
Yes,
the
indeed.
pre-matches and everything. It was almost, oh my goodness, 6 hours long, but it didn't feel that
Yep.
long though.
No, it didn't, and
Which is good.
that's kind of a. I would say that there's some good and bad to that.
True.
But yes.
Anyway, let's go up to the first match, which was team of Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, and Naomi defeating Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, and Natalya.
Um. Yeah, I mean, it was a seat filler match.
It really was. I don't think there was. Well, I mean, there's probably some interest in it, but not a lot. It kind of combined a few of the.
And it's hard when you've got anytime it's a 6-person tag team match, nobody's really going to get the sort of spotlight in order to shine. I mean, it didn't seem horrible. It seemed like they went out there and did the thing. Nothing exemplary, but nothing embarrassing either.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say it was okay. But you did pick Team Face, and I picked Team Heel. So congratulations, you.
So there we go.
We're all tied up again. Next up, they have the Tag Team Championship match for the Raw Tag Team Champions. I think the SmackDown ones are MIA right now.
Yes.
Team Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson defeated Cesaro and Sheamus for their first title win.
Yeah, speaking of titles that seem to be, flitting around willy-nilly, I guess both of the tag team titles, Raw and SmackDown, seem to be hopping around quite a bit.
They do. Well, SmackDown had, first it was Rhino and Slater, followed by the Wyatt family, followed by American Alpha, so that's like 3 different teams. And now for Raw, even though they were held for a record amount of time, go New Day. Had New Day, and then Cesaro and Sheamus, and now they're hopped again to Gallows and Anderson. So I don't know if this feels like the Attitude Era, where the belts have to change hands like at the most every 2 months or so everybody gets the title, can say they were ahead of the title at some point.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to that era, we had the belts 2 times, but you lost them within the span of 2 weeks.
Right.
So yeah, that's what it almost feels like, with the reigns just changing so quickly too. But I really like the team of Cesaro and Sheamus. They really click together. And
I like them as well.
I hope they keep them around to WrestleMania. If they were smart, they would do like a 3, like the New Day versus Gallows and Anderson versus Cesaro and Sheamus in like a TLC match or something like that.
Sure.
If they were smart, but they're not that well.
We never know.
We never know, but that would be cool to see. Anyway, but the match itself, I thought it was okay. Not their best match. The bigger guy, Luke Gallows, I think, looked kind of winded the entire time, if you ask me.
It seemed weird. It seemed weird that they lost in the way that they did. It seemed like very rushed. It seemed almost like there was maybe like 5-10 more minutes of that match left, but then it was just like, and we're done now.
Yep. Anyway, so this match, I picked Gallows and Anderson. You picked Sheamus and Cesaro. So that's another point to me. Ahead of you by 1 point. So finally on the pre-show, we had the individuals of Nia Jax defeated Sasha Banks, and pretty much felt kind of like a squash match, if you ask me.
It did, and I was surprised to see it go this way. I'm beginning to worry if Sasha's being punished somehow. Just from her booking lately, she seems to be putting over Nia Jax pretty strongly. But at the same time, when you see the two of them together in the ring, I don't know if I would have even bought a Sasha Banks victory.
True.
Like, there was a point where she was put into the bank statement, and just because of her height, I was just looking and was like, well, really all Nia Jax has to do is just stand up, which is exactly what happened.
She's a very dominant size for that division. Everybody else is a bit smaller. I mean, it's pretty much unfair. But Nia Jax definitely being put over, and I feel that Sasha at this point, they're transitioning maybe to a heel turn because
which would be great. I preferred her as a heel.
I thought she was a great heel. I honestly didn't understand why she became a face, but then again, you never know. Anyway, so we both picked Nia Jax for it because we're logical and smart human beings. So still ahead of 5-4. So next up with the pay-per-view, we start out with the single women's match on the main Raw show, which is Charlotte Flair defeated Bayley for Raw Women's Championship. Good match. I've seen better from both of them, but I didn't really expect something insane, so it was good.
Right. Yeah. Basically the way I feel about it as well. Yeah. Technically sound, and I like the story behind it.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing. I feel like we got to take this point to really. I feel like the unsung heroes of the professional wrestling industry, especially the WWE, are the video editors that put together the promo packages.
They do great jobs.
Because you're watching these things play out over the course of several weeks through terrible segments that aren't necessarily terrible on their own fault, but you got like the audience in the background chanting "what" constantly, just trying to put themselves over, or even it not being given the time that it needs on a weekly show.
Yeah.
But then it sort of culminates at these pay-per-views, and these people put together these video packages and make it seem a lot more emotionally charged than it was initially, and really kind of rekindled my interest in the feud to begin with. I thought that the way that was put together was very well done. Yet, in spite of it, I am pleased to see that the Queen of Pay-Per-View has maintained her victory.
True, and we both actually picked her to win, so still up 5-6 on my count.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up we have the first of 2 championship matches. Kevin Owens defeated Roman Reigns in a no DQ match with Chris Jericho above the ring via interference by Braun Strowman, the hero of the evening.
Yes.
Man, it was actually, it was a pretty ugly match in terms of just brutality. I think they do that in the PG era. Mm-hmm. I loved the folding chair pyramid.
Yes, though I did have a thought sort of, looking at it, where if you really think about it, it seems like the taller that they build that thing, the less it would hurt to be put through.
Probably. When you're hitting the last set of chairs there,
you slowed down so much that
it was a great Chekhov's gun of that match.
Right.
If I may use that reference in professional wrestling.
Seems legit.
Yeah. But they did some great spots between that and this, is somebody going to hit that or not? And things like the frog splash on the table.
Yes.
Just really brutal. I think they were barely in the ring the entire match. They're just doing like one brutal move after another brutal move.
Right.
And it was great. It definitely was different than the other championship match, but still good in its own way.
Right.
So yeah, definitely enjoyed it. Kind of said Chris Jericho was kind of an afterthought. Just kind of dropped some brass knuckles.
Yeah. It would have been nice to see slightly more shenanigans from Chris Jericho, but again,
just swinging out there like a sexy pinata.
Like a sexy cloud.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I really. I don't know how high he was suspended, but that must have that would freak me out if I was up there. So
sure. Yeah, definitely.
I'm not good with heights anyway, but yeah, that would be really nauseating. But still, great overall match. Building up, I guess, a Reigns versus Strowman feud for the time being, at least. Anyway, so our picks for that match. Let's see here. We both picked Kevin Owens, so we didn't have too much of a difference, but I'm still ahead of you by 1 point.
There we go.
Next up, the Cruiserweight Championship match. Neville defeating Rich Swann to take the belt.
I want to say we both picked Neville for this.
I'm pretty sure we did too. Neville's got a lot of momentum behind him. Yeah, we both picked him for it.
Seemed the obvious choice.
He was so obvious at that point. Once he started to debuted into the Cruiserweight division, he was just taking names and kicking ass and just being probably one of the best heels on the roster right now, the way he's been doing.
Oh, I would say so.
Yeah.
Which is good.
But I'm glad they gave this match time to develop. Rich Swann, I think, is a great wrestler. At this point, it can, it did well in the tournament. Well, I don't think he did well in the tournament, but did some good matches. And this was, an example of what they should be doing. They should give him like 10 minutes, every Monday nights to show what they could do in the ring, and that would definitely get him over. So, as opposed to what the heck they're doing on during the Cruiserweight matches, which just kind of sucks.
Right.
Anyway, any more thoughts on it before we move on?
No, pretty good.
Yep. Man, we picked a lot of the same matches. Next up, we have AJ Styles losing the championship to John Cena. And what was, I would think, a candidate for match of the year. I don't think it was better than Okada versus Kenny Omega.
Right, right. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I mean, match of the night, definitely.
Yeah, match of the night, probably match of the year so far for WWE. Um,
Well, it is only January,
True,
so
they had some plenty of time.
mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was about as good as their SummerSlam efforts. I thought it
Yes.
just felt a little bit different. The ending, of course, was a lot different too, with John Cena doing like an AA and then doing like a rolling up into another AA and doing
Yeah, it was like
that.
a triple. Yeah.
So that's four finishing moves to AJ Styles, who looked great in loss here. Sad that his first reign has ended,
Mhm.
but with John Cena having winning the belt 16 times, tying Ric Flair's record, which they didn't make as big a deal. Um,
Not yet. I'm
no,
sure that they will, though.
yeah, especially if he loses the belt. Oh my goodness, he's gonna break Ric Flair's record. Well,
Right.
well, I wouldn't want
Probably.
to get into all that. Why John Cena will probably have the belt much more than Ric Flair ever did, but
Right.
that's beyond me. I mean, Ric Flair wrestled for how many decades?
A lot.
Yeah, and he
A
wasn't
lot.
until like his like 30s until he first won the title, and John Cena I think was in his mid 20s when he first won, or late 20s at the earliest. So he had time. Well, I mean he won it before Ric Flair did in his timeline, and then also had there's just a lot more wrestling to do. So
Right.
obviously lose the belt, get the belt back a lot more. But yeah, go John Cena, I guess.
Let's go Cena.
We both picked John Cena though.
Right.
So
I believe it is just simply moved up. You are still one ahead.
I'm still one ahead of you, and we finally come to the main event, which is the Royal Rumble itself. Do you want to go person by person?
um,
Or
we could honestly. I feel as though, to be quite frank, uh, I hated it. I absolutely hated it.
I see. Well, let's go into specifics. What did you hate about the Royal Rumble match itself?
It would probably be quicker for me to start with the things that I didn't hate because there's
Okay.
one of them,
All right,
and
let's go
that
with that one.
one came in at number 10,
Mhm.
and I'm glad that they did that.
Yeah, that was neat. I definitely enjoyed that. Um, so yeah, okay. We have Ty Dillinger at number 10. Okay. Well, let me tell you the things I liked about the Rumble.
Go ahead.
Um, I liked that Chris Jericho was in there for an hour, broke the record. That was kind of neat. It started out okay, but it felt like you were kind of waiting for the next guy to come out and what they're going to do. Until finally the end. Okay, yeah, this is the part where I would kind of hate on it too. Is that it was just really, really backloaded in terms of guys because they had Goldberg, The Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar all come out within 4 picks of each other. So,
Right, right.
and then they have
Which to me just reads as they're either old and tired or you can't afford to, you know, have them in the ring for over 15 minutes.
True. Yeah, there wasn't any really huge, big or bright spots to the match. No huge eliminations. Didn't make anybody really a star. Even well, I did like the when Braun Strowman showed up at the beginning, and then everybody was gunning to take him out.
Right.
That was kind of neat when they all teamed up. But by halfway through that, then he was eliminated finally. But yeah, didn't really make anybody into a star at all in this match, unfortunately.
Right.
So yeah, and Randy Orton winning the match, none of
I
us
mean,
called it.
no, it's better than Roman Reigns, which
Much better than Roman
I
Reigns.
felt that was where they were going.
Yeah,
He came in at number 30. He like instantly eliminated the Undertaker, um, which I was like, what? But
yeah,
I feel as though they had him come out to make people think he was going to win, so that people would be less upset about Randy Orton winning.
yeah. The crowd kind of went like, "Huh, Randy
Right,
Orton? Okay."
right.
Which is funny because I read, maybe a day after we did our picks cast, I read that the rumor was Randy Orton was going to win. I'm like, that's well, I'll get to that in my list about things we should be worried about WrestleMania. But yeah, overall, I don't know. Like, I'm always excited for the Royal Rumble. There's never a bad Rumble. It's just some are much better than others.
Hmm.
That's the way I took it. And yeah, it's essentially like you have to sit there for an hour and wait till the next card comes out and see what happens. But yeah, overall, it was all right.
Right. Right. I don't know. My grade on it would be a D plus.
Oh, for the match itself.
Well, that's the thing is that there was the bright spot of AJ Styles and John Cena. The rest, was kind of was decent, but
Yeah.
the reason why you watch is for the Royal Rumble, and the Royal Rumble itself was to me just so standard. They didn't have anybody who you knew wasn't going to win, but would be pleased to see anyway, except for Ty Dillinger.
Yeah. There was no, because I don't think any of our surprise guy picks showed up at all.
Yeah, there was no debut, either like main roster or otherwise.
Yep.
Unless we're counting Ty Dillinger, in which case I don't think so. We didn't see him at all this week.
No, I don't think. I think he was just there just to show up at
to show up at number 10, right?
Yeah, and that was just hey, fans want to see you. Let's go ahead and have you show up as number 10 in the match, and then we'll go from there.
Right.
But
there was nobody really pushed to win beforehand.
right.
There's no Daniel Bryan this year.
Nope. There's no hero that we can cheer behind, and then I'll get to that too.
And there wasn't even anyone that like Roman Reigns, where it's like, okay, we're pretty sure he's going to win. We'd rather he not win. Where it just kind of plopped together.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It just seemed like somebody was missing a crucial ingredient, and when it went into the oven, it just came a mess.
Well, I think there was a lot of storylines going into it from the two different brands, and yeah, I think it lacked drama, really for the most part. That's why I feel it lacked drama and it lacked a lot of heart. So I would give the pay-per-view itself overall. I would also give it a B minus. I
went with D. D as in dog.
Yeah.
You would also give this as well as Takeover.
Right. The whole pay-per-view as a whole, because I thought that the championship matches were really good, and this was okay, but because the Royal Rumble itself was kind of lackluster, I'd say it definitely brought the grade down quite a bit for that.
Sure.
So anyway, let's go into our reasons to be excited for WrestleMania and the reasons to be worried about WrestleMania, because we are how many days away from it?
A lot.
We're about 2 months
many.
Away.
Yes.
Because I know I need to make plans for that weekend. WrestleMania date 2017. Just Google this stuff really quickly here. April 2nd. So yeah, we are exactly
2 months away.
2 months away. Yeah, but we have another 2 pay-per-views to go. Anyway, do you want to do one reason to be excited and then one reason to be worried, or one reason to be worried and then excited?
Yeah, you go ahead and start us out.
Okay, I'll start us out. It kind of goes to your point too that there was really nobody to cheer for in the Rumble. There's no heroes right now that are up and comers challenging for the belt. Somebody is addressing a great wrong that has been done to them, or overcoming the odds. There's no Stone Cold Steve Austins, no Daniel Bryans. There's no Mega Powers exploding coming into this. There's not many hot feuds right now. All the feuds feel like they're in transition, like they're trying to develop new feuds, and hopefully they'll have their shit together by Mania. But right now, I don't it's just who is the protagonist in both the brands right now?
Yeah. Well, my reason to get excited will sort of piggyback directly off of that, which is that hasn't been the case leading up to the Royal Rumble,
Okay.
but based off of particularly Raw this week, it seems as though they are changing that. And this sort of goes all the way back to, the thing I initially stuck a pin in. I really like how they're booking Braun Strowman and how they're going with his character, because he's not an idiot. For him basically utilizing the fact that they have an entire video library of footage for him to be like, no, see, you actually did promise me a title reign. Already is like, okay, well, he's not like a completely thuggish, idiotic heel.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he didn't take any chances with Jericho later on in the night and just put him through. Right.
That was great.
So I'm interested in seeing what they're doing with that character. It'll be good to see like a monster heel who's not, the Great Khali or something.
Yeah, he definitely has more personality and brains than the Great Khali, and he has been thwarted occasionally,
Yes.
but very, very minorly, and he still looks very strong too.
So that is an interesting
definitely.
feud.
Okay.
And the next part, which may lead into one of your reasons to not be excited, but I'm going to mention it anyway because I came up with this beforehand. But Triple H and Seth Rollins' feud, incredibly interesting, especially when you take it into account with Triple H's very extensive history, and seeing him as the office guy, having an army of NXT chumps to literally do his bidding, I think is a very cool way to take the character, and Seth Rollins kind of being like the first one of those, the first one of his, sort of NXT lackeys to break away from that and sort of challenge the leader, I think has a lot of potential going forward.
True. Well, I'm going to go for my next point based on previous years, how things have developed. Let me ask you this. Last year, going into WrestleMania, how many times did you hear "Welcome to my house," something by?
Yeah, I mean, it became a joke among some of my other wrestling friends for several months afterward.
Be ready to hear the next theme song. I don't know what they're going to pick. They haven't announced it yet, but at least 2,000 times. It's going to be in your head every single time you watch wrestling because they'll probably hype up WrestleMania. And then also have a live performance of the song because they really need it during a wrestling show. It's to me that really sucks out any hype or excitement because you hear the same damn songs over and over again for 2 months.
Yeah.
To the point I just want to plug my ears with leeches.
Yeah, well, that's marketing for you. But this I'll sort of go off of what I said last time, and it's sort of almost a reason to not be excited, which is the possibility that we may not have Seth Rollins again this year for WrestleMania. However, I'm not completely unconvinced that it's a work. For those of you who may not be aware, apparently Seth Rollins suffered an injury on Monday Night Raw that is keeping him off the shelves for a couple of months, maybe, possibly. They haven't said anything about it. It could even be career-ending. That's how little of information that we have. Which to me I find suspicious. I have gone back and looked at the footage of that whole segment, and I couldn't think of a time. I couldn't see a time where his knee could have been injured again. But then again, that's not to say that it couldn't. The smallest things that he has had surgery done on it.
Yeah.
The simple fact that the WWE is putting it forward, whether storyline reason or not, that Samoa Joe injured Seth Rollins and has put him out of commission, which they never seem to do that if it's a legitimate injury. And I suppose, if nothing else, I find it really odd that Seth Rollins was removed from the Royal Rumble beforehand. Did not show up at all, didn't even, storm the building, anything like that.
Yeah.
And plus, WWE's been doing its thing lately where they kind of, blur the line between kayfabe and reality
Yeah.
in really the only ways that they can nowadays. Um, so I don't know. It could be that he's not out. At least I hope that's the case.
Okay. Well, let me bring you to my next point, which kind of piggybacks off of that, if we may. Actually, was going to be one of my points was that Seth Rollins appears to be injured, and that the whole match might be derailed. But there could also be other injuries in the meantime too. So the whole thing could. I mean, last year it felt really lackluster because there were lots of injuries on the roster too.
Sure.
Seth Rollins, John Cena. I don't know some other ones too. I can't really think of it at the top of my head, but yeah, I mean it could happen in the meantime too. It could maybe AJ Styles get. Oh my goodness, why am I saying this? Okay, nobody's gonna get injured in the next 2 months. In fact, everybody's gonna stay healthy for the rest of the year, and we're gonna be fine, and nobody's gonna be
Mhm.
hurt, and we'll all have sunshine and rainbows for everybody.
Right. Well, moving on with my next one, we
Okay.
might see very prominent returns, such as Finn Balor,
Yep.
maybe Seth Rollins. Who knows? We may even see the makeover of Emelina at
Oh my God.
finally arrive at
That's been
WrestleMania.
going on for like 5 months.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Or maybe Eva Marie. She hasn't been back since her suspension.
this is true. I wonder what's up with that.
Yeah, she's just
But
kind of
anyway.
disappeared. Yeah, go
Uh,
figure.
So, it's always exciting to see who will debut around this time because this
True.
seems to be when they bring the most people up.
All right. Well, my next point is also going to be on previous years have shown me anything. It's going to be long as hell. Last year was almost 7 hours long between the pre-show to the almost hour overrun of almost torturously long matches too.
Yes.
Seth Rollins versus Triple H, way too long. Um,
Or
Shane
Roman
McMahon
Reigns, yeah.
versus Undertaker, that was just took forever.
Right. Um, well, my reason, for looking forward to it, and it really all depends on booking. It's going to be upwards to around 7 hours long. So, if it's good, that's a lot of good stuff. And much like Royal Rumble, from your perspective, you didn't really feel that length of time. Um, it all seemed to go through rather quickly. It all depends really on just how it's booked and how it's done.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, last year was I think there was maybe like one good match out of the entire card that we were really excited for.
Hmm.
Everything else was just well, we endured the entire thing together,
Right.
and I remember just just okay, this is gonna get good. This is gonna no, it's not. It's not gonna get good. Despite the number of alcohol you drink, it's
And even points where we were like, is this match that they mentioned still going to happen? And they found the time for it.
yep. Even had The Rock come out there for a half an hour segment where he's just
Yep.
I don't know. I would speak to that, but I really can't say whether or not they're going to have. I mean, this is not one of my points. I want to bring it as my 5 points, but do wanted to throw out that having guys like The Rock or other legends like Stone Cold McFoley and Shawn Michaels come out and be up the current roster, not doing them any favors.
Right.
But I'm going to go with my last point here, which is the matches themselves are going to have potential to be underwhelming. Goldberg versus Lesnar, take 3. It's going to have a lot of hype. It's going to be excitement. It's going to be a lot of talk, and I'm going to be excited for it. But at the end of the day, it's probably not going to go any longer than 2 minutes.
Sure.
Um,
Um, that's a possibility. And I think if everything else leading up to WWE WrestleMania, uh, if that if everything leading up to it is any indication, you're probably right. It's not been a very overwhelming year so far. I felt SummerSlam was pretty solid. I felt Survivor Series was pretty solid. But, everything past that point and sort of leading on to it just seems rather deflated. Seems like it's kind of, lost its edge a little bit.
yeah.
But But on the positive side of things, um, they don't really have the same sort of overwhelming negativity that they did last year leading up to WrestleMania, where people were like, "Oh, I know this is gonna suck." It's
Roman
Roman
Reigns is
Reigns
the main event against Triple
right.
H. Nobody wanted to see that, and they still went for it anyway. And I don't know. Well, if you may continue.
But I think at this point people aren't really sure what to expect, which means that there is a great potential for both surprise and disappointment.
True.
Whereas the previous year, people kind of went into it knowing that they weren't going to like it.
Yeah, there is that. I am more intrigued, especially that they did the brand split and they pushed newer guys to be the champions. Of course, they went back and made John Cena champion again, but he's a marquee draw.
Mm.
But having like AJ Styles, Kevin Owens be champion, even going with Finn Balor, I wish that went forward as opposed to him getting hurt. Yeah, that's been intriguing, but they really needed to stay more solid in terms of their booking for that.
Right.
So
I believe that brings us to 5.
I believe that's 5 points each, at least.
All right.
Anything else you want to add to the review before we move on? Before we actually move on to signing off.
I guess, the only thing I'm wondering is, why the hell would they not have brought out Samoa Joe one day earlier? I feel like that would have been something else to just kind of, just add some spice to the Royal Rumble, which otherwise felt very bland.
Yeah, it would have been intriguing. I guess the only thing I can think of is that it would make him look weak once he got eliminated from the match. They want to keep him strong to be a threat to, well, I guess Seth Rollins or whoever he takes on. So.
Mm-hmm. And for that matter as well, very, very surprised and disappointed to see Jack Gallagher showing up.
Yeah, he
I
wasn't
believe as
surprised.
though I believe I believe as though a proper gentleman would have announced his intention to join the Royal Rumble well beforehand, and
True.
certainly would not have brought a foreign object to the ring.
Well, because he's a gentleman, he must use some weapon. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a sporting chance for him.
I suppose not,
Yeah.
but him getting tossed out with the umbrella was a pretty funny spot. But still, it struck out to me as weird.
Yeah, the whole booking for like I'm gonna be in the Royal Rumble, but I'm gonna take your spot, and then I'm gonna be in the Rumble. No, you're not. I'm just that whole booking just kind of didn't make any sense to me. Like if I went back and booked the WWE for the past 3 or 4 months or so, have like the winners of Survivor Series, like you get the last 2 spots in the Rumble.
Sure.
And you lose, you have to. Well, you wouldn't have to have the first 5 spots, but make it for the Rumble and make it. Start the excitement back then in SummerSlam or Survivor Series, I should say, and get the excitement for the Rumble built then as opposed to just intermittently between the two pay-per-views.
Right.
Anyway, I got nothing else about you.
No, I think that's basically my final point. Really underwhelmed by it this year. Even in years where the people who you really didn't want to win, whether it was Roman Reigns or Batista or even Triple H, at least it felt somewhat interesting.
Yeah, at least you kind of knew where they were going with this. But this one, everything's up in the air. So I'm hoping they make some good choices for the main event or the WrestleMania. But otherwise, it would just be a kind of a wasted Rumble, if you ask me.
True enough.
All right. Well, for the Hashtag Wrestling Podcast, I've been your host, Turnbuckle Jim.
This has been the Heart Blake Kid.
All right, folks, and don't forget to like if you liked this, share if you liked this, comment if you liked this or you didn't like us. Start a flame war with Blake. I don't care. Or send us a dislike, too. Give us some feedback, folks.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, you guys have a good one.
And we'll
and
see you.
Jim, nice having you. Nice having you again.
Yep. Nice talking to you again, man. We'll talk to you later.
Cheers.